Picture this. You cook a healthy dinner tonight, chicken, some spinach, maybe a bowl of rice. You feel good about it. You put the leftovers in the fridge, and tomorrow morning you reheat them and eat them again. You have done this hundreds of times. Most people have. It feels responsible, not wasteful, practical. But what if I told you that for four very specific foods, that second trip through the heat is doing something to the food that you cannot see, cannot smell, and cannot taste? Something that researchers have linked in published peer-reviewed studies to an increased risk of cancer? I am Dr. Michael Lin, and welcome back to Dr. Michael Lin Senior Health. I've spent more than 15 years studying the relationship between food, cooking methods, and long-term health outcomes. And today, I want to walk you through four of the most commonly reheated foods in America, foods that are almost certainly in your kitchen right now, and explain exactly what happens to them chemically when they are reheated, why that matters for your health, and what you can do instead. Simple, practical changes that require no special equipment and no dramatic overhaul of the way you eat. I want to be honest with you right from the start. This video is not here to frighten you away from food. Most of what you eat is fine. But for these four specific foods, the science is clear enough and consistent enough that I believe every person over 60 deserves to understand it, because the people most affected by the slow, cumulative buildup of harmful compounds in the body are not young adults with fast metabolism and strong immune systems. They are people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s whose bodies are less able to repair cellular damage quietly in the background the way a younger body might. Before we get into the four foods, I want to explain three chemical processes, because you will see them come up again and again throughout this video. Understanding them will make everything else make much more sense. Do not skip this part, because it is the key to understanding why reheating changes certain foods in a way that single cooking does. The first process is called oxidation. When food is cooked and then stored in your refrigerator, the fats and proteins in that food are exposed to oxygen for hours. That exposure makes them chemically unstable. When you apply heat a second time, those already stressed molecules break down further into compounds that can damage the DNA inside your cells. One of the best studied of these compounds is called malondialdehyde, and it has been identified in multiple studies as a potential driver of cellular damage linked to cancer development. The second process is called nitrosamine formation. Certain foods are naturally high in compounds called nitrates. These are actually beneficial in fresh food. They help support healthy blood pressure and cardiovascular function. But when cooked food containing high levels of nitrates is refrigerated, naturally occurring bacteria begin converting those nitrates into nitrites. Then, when you apply heat to reheat the food, those nitrites can react with proteins to form nitrosamines. The World Health Organization has classified nitrosamines as probable carcinogens, meaning the scientific evidence strongly suggests they can contribute to cancer development in humans. The third process is called advanced glycation. When proteins and sugars inside food are exposed to high temperatures more than once, they react with each other and form compounds called advanced glycation end products, sometimes abbreviated as AGEs. These compounds promote chronic inflammation inside the body, and chronic inflammation is one of the most well-established biological drivers of cancer over time. Three processes: oxidation, nitrosamine formation, advanced glycation. Keep these in mind because you will see them again with every food we discuss. Before we continue, if this kind of practical, evidence-based health information is what you come to this channel for, take 1 second and tap the subscribe button. I publish a new video every week, and every one of them is designed specifically for adults over 60 who want clear, trustworthy answers about their health without having to wade through confusion or misinformation. Now let us get into the four foods. And I will tell you right now, the fourth one surprised me when I first read the research, and I have a feeling it will surprise you too. Food number one is cooked rice. Rice is one of the most widely eaten foods on Earth. More than 3 billion people eat rice as a daily staple, and billions of those people reheat leftover rice regularly without giving it a second thought. It is convenient, it is practical, and it has been part of everyday cooking in almost every culture for thousands of years. But here is what most people do not know. The danger with reheated rice is not primarily about the reheating itself. It is about what happens to the rice in the time between the first cooking and the second. Raw rice naturally contains a bacterium called Bacillus cereus. Cooking the rice kills most of the bacteria, but it does not kill all of them, and it does not destroy the spores, which can survive temperatures that would kill most other bacteria. When cooked rice sits at room temperature or is stored in the refrigerator, any surviving bacteria multiply and produce toxins. Here is the critical part. When you reheat the rice, the heat may kill the bacteria, but it does not destroy the toxins they have already produced. Those toxins are heat resistant. They survive the microwave, they survive the stovetop, and they enter your body intact. One toxin in particular, called cereulide, has been studied in laboratory settings and shown to interfere with the energy-producing structures inside human cells called mitochondria. Scientists recognize mitochondrial dysfunction as one of the early biological events that can contribute to the process by which a healthy cell gradually becomes cancerous over time. Beyond the bacterial concern, there is a second issue with reheated rice that receives far less attention. When starchy foods like rice are repeatedly heated, they can produce a compound called acrylamide, which forms when natural sugars react with a particular amino acid under high heat. The International Agency for Research on Cancer classifies acrylamide as a probable carcinogen in humans. So, what do you do instead? Whenever possible, cook rice fresh and eat it the same day. If you need to store leftover rice, spread it out on a flat tray immediately after cooking so it cools rapidly. Then refrigerate it within 1 hour. Eat it within 24 hours. And if you do reheat it once and only once, and make sure it is steaming hot all the way through before you eat it. The safest habit is simply to make smaller portions and cook fresh. Food number 2 is cooked chicken. I know what you're thinking. Chicken is one of the healthiest lean proteins available. Doctors and dietitians have been recommending it for decades, and they are right when it is cooked fresh and eaten immediately. The problem arises when cooked chicken is refrigerated and then reheated at high temperature. When the proteins in chicken muscle are exposed to high heat for a second time, a process called protein oxidation occurs. One well-documented consequence of this process is the formation of compounds called heterocyclic amines, often abbreviated as HCAs. These are not a fringe concern in nutrition science. Heterocyclic amines are among the most extensively studied dietary compounds in cancer research, and the findings are consistent across decades of peer-reviewed literature. When HCAs are ingested, the liver processes them into highly reactive molecules that can bind directly to DNA. When DNA is damaged in this way, it can lead to genetic mutations. When those mutations affect genes that normally suppress tumor growth, you have one of the primary biological mechanisms through which cancer begins. A study published in the journal Carcinogenesis found that people who frequently consumed well-done or reheated poultry had a statistically meaningful increase in the risk of colorectal cancer. Researchers at the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health found associations between regular consumption of reheated processed chicken and an elevated risk of pancreatic cancer, one of the most serious forms of cancer with a very low survival rate. Now, let me share something that puts this in perspective for people over 60 specifically. Meal prepping, cooking a large batch of chicken on Sunday, and reheating portions throughout the week has become an extremely popular habit, including among seniors who live alone and find it practical. I understand why. It saves time and money, but if that cooked chicken is being reheated at high temperature multiple times over several days, the chemistry we just discussed is happening every single time. What do you do instead? Whenever possible, eat leftover cooked chicken cold. Slice it into a salad, add it to a wrap, or eat it straight from the container. The cold chicken has not undergone additional protein oxidation. If you truly need to warm it, use the lowest effective temperature and bring it just to a safe internal temperature rather than blasting it in a hot microwave. Never reheat the same portion of chicken more than once. Now, this next food is one that health-conscious people eat proudly every day. And the information I'm about to share genuinely surprised many of my own patients when they heard it. Pay close attention. Food number 3 is cooked spinach and other leafy greens. Spinach is celebrated, and rightly so, as one of the most nutritious vegetables in existence. It is loaded with iron, folate, magnesium, vitamin K, and antioxidants that support heart health and cellular protection. Oncologists recommend it. Cardiologists recommend it. I recommend it. Eaten fresh or cooked once and consumed immediately, spinach is genuinely excellent for your health. The problem begins in the refrigerator. Spinach is among the highest dietary sources of naturally occurring nitrates. Celery, beets, lettuce, Swiss chard, and kale are also in this category. In their natural state, these nitrates are beneficial. They help produce a molecule called nitric oxide, which supports healthy blood vessel function and blood pressure regulation. Nothing wrong with any of that, but once spinach is cooked and placed in the refrigerator, bacteria that are naturally present on the surface of the leaves begin converting those nitrates into nitrites. This is the same chemical conversion that happens in processed and cured meats, and it is a significant part of the reason the World Health Organization classified processed meat as a confirmed carcinogen in 2015. When you take that refrigerated spinach and apply heat to reheat it, you are heating a vegetable that has already undergone substantial nitrate to nitrite conversion during storage. Under heat, those nitrites react with amino acids in the spinach and later in your stomach to form nitrosamines. The World Health Organization considers nitrosamines probable carcinogens. Studies consistently associate elevated nitrosamine exposure with increased risks of stomach cancer, esophageal cancer, and colorectal cancer. The European Food Safety Authority has issued formal guidance specifically about the risks of reheating nitrate-rich vegetables after cooking and refrigerating them. This is not a fringe theory. It is official public health guidance that somehow never quite makes it to the average person's dinner table. I find this one particularly worth sharing because so many health-conscious seniors are doing exactly this. They cook a batch of spinach or sautéed greens at the start of the week, refrigerate it, and reheat portions over the next few days, genuinely believing they are doing something good for themselves. The intention is perfect. The habit just needs one small adjustment. What do you do instead? Cook leafy greens, fresh whenever possible, and eat them the same day. If you have leftovers, eat them cold within a few hours rather than reheating them. A cold spinach salad with olive oil and lemon is not only safe, it is delicious. Do not refrigerate cooked spinach with a plan of reheating it later. If you must store it, keep it in a sealed container and consume it cold, not reheated, within 6 hours of cooking. Quick pause. If this information is connecting dots for you, please take a moment and tap the like button. It genuinely helps this video reach more seniors who are looking for straightforward, reliable health information. And while you are there, tell me in the comments which of these foods surprised you the most so far. I read every single comment. Now, food number 4. I told you this one would surprise you. And I want you to stay with me here because I know your first reaction might be skepticism. That is a healthy response. But please hear the science out. Food number 4 is eggs. Eggs are one of the most nutritionally complete foods available to us. They contain all 9 essential amino acids. They provide choline, which supports brain function and memory, something especially important for adults over 60. They supply selenium, a mineral involved in antioxidant defense and immune function, and they contain lutein and zeaxanthin, 2 antioxidants that help protect eye health and cellular integrity. By almost every nutritional measure, eggs are exceptional. And I want to be very clear about this because I do not want you to walk away from this video afraid of eggs. Fresh eggs, cooked and eaten right away, are an outstanding food for seniors. The issue is specifically with reheating previously cooked eggs, particularly scrambled eggs, omelets, and egg dishes that have been refrigerated. Here is why. Eggs contain fat, most of it concentrated in the yolk. When an egg is cooked for the first time, the fats in the yolk undergo a normal, expected initial stage of oxidation. This is manageable, but when that cooked egg is then refrigerated for several hours and reheated at high temperature, those already oxidized fats undergo a second, faster round of oxidation. The byproducts of this secondary oxidation include compounds called oxysterols. Oxysterols are oxidized forms of cholesterol that develop specifically when cholesterol-containing foods are subjected to repeated heat exposure. A thorough review published in the journal Food and Chemical Toxicology found that oxysterols have pro-inflammatory effects and, more concerning, genotoxic effects on human cells. Genotoxic is an important word here. It means toxic to the genetic material inside your cells, your DNA. By definition, compounds that are genotoxic are considered potential carcinogens because they can produce DNA damage that begins the chain of events leading to cancer development over time. There is a second concern with reheated eggs that receives very little attention. When cooked egg proteins are exposed to high heat a second time, particularly in a microwave oven, they undergo additional structural changes. The sulfur-containing amino acids naturally present in eggs can degrade during repeated heating, and the compounds produced from that degradation may contribute to oxidative stress in the lining of the digestive tract. Persistent oxidative stress in the gastrointestinal lining is one of the proposed biological mechanisms involved in the development of colorectal cancer, the third most common cancer worldwide. Let me share a brief story that reflects something I have heard from many patients over the years. A woman I will call Patricia, 71 years old, retired school teacher, came to see me for a routine wellness visit. She mentioned proudly that she had started a new weekly habit. Every Sunday, she scrambled a dozen eggs, divided them into containers, and microwaved a portion each morning throughout the week. She thought she was being smart, getting a high-protein breakfast every day without the morning hassle. She was not wrong to want protein at breakfast, but reheating those eggs at high heat every morning was exposing her to the exact chemistry we just discussed repeatedly 5 mornings a week. We made one simple change. She now keeps 2 or 3 hard-boiled eggs in the fridge, unpeeled, and eats them cold in the morning with half an avocado and some fruit. Same protein, same convenience, none of the chemical concern. She's kept the habit for over a year now and actually prefers it. What do you do instead? Cook eggs fresh whenever possible and eat them right away. If you need the convenience of preparing ahead, hard-boiled eggs stored with their shells on and eaten cold are a safe and practical option. Avoid reheating scrambled eggs or omelets in the microwave. If you absolutely must warm an egg dish, use the lowest possible heat setting and bring it to temperature gently rather than blasting it. Never reheat the same egg dish twice. Now let me bring all 4 of these together with a clear, simple action plan you can start using today, because knowledge is only useful when it turns into action. For rice, cook it fresh and eat it the same day whenever you can. If you store leftovers, cool them quickly, refrigerate within 1 hour, and reheat only once within 24 hours. Make smaller portions so you have less left over. For chicken, eat cold leftovers rather than reheating when possible. If you must reheat, use gentle, low heat just to bring it to a safe temperature. Never reheat the same portion more than once. For spinach and leafy greens, cook them fresh and eat immediately. If you have leftovers, eat them cold within a few hours. Do not refrigerate cooked leafy greens with the intention of reheating them later. For eggs, cook fresh whenever you can. For batch preparation, hard boil them and eat cold. Never microwave previously cooked scrambled eggs or egg dishes. And one rule that applies to all four foods equally: never reheat any food more than once. One cooking, one reheating, and then it is time to let it go. Planning your portions carefully so you produce fewer leftovers in the first place is honestly the single most effective change you can make. I want to close by saying something I mean sincerely. The people who need this information most are often the ones who are already trying hardest to take care of their health. Health-conscious seniors reheating spinach and eggs because they know those foods are good for them. Older adults reheating chicken because lean protein is what their doctor recommended. People eating rice at every meal because it is what they have always done. None of them are making bad decisions. They simply have not been given this information in a clear, practical way. That is the gap this channel exists to close. Not to make anyone afraid of eating, but to make sure the science that public health researchers and food safety agencies already know reaches the people who can actually use it before it matters, not after. Take care of what goes into your body, the small daily choices, what you cook, how you store it, and how you reheat it add up over years. And for people over 60, those years and those choices carry more weight than ever. Remember, this video is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please consult your personal doctor or a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your diet or health routine. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Dr. Michael Lin Senior Health and hit the notification bell so you never miss a health tip. I'll see you in the next video.